From my short trip to Turkey, I will always remember Cappadocia, name that will surely raise some suggestion, even in people less informed. There, I touched in just 3 days, eternity. With this little reportage of mine, if I may so call it, I would just like to report some impressions, for better or for worse. It was just a holiday, but in the strict sense of the term. Wandering and solitary and mostly quietly, but sharp-eyed, and even more, with eyes doubled by a small camera, carried in a pocket to be used mostly in secret, as an invisible weapon. So, not like that bad, horrible, fierce traveler who is the good tourist of today, but as I am, and that it is enough, of course. I have tried to cross these ancient places. Or maybe it wasn't even me, the guy that with an extraordinary serenity, a curiosity without programs, and the mandatory freedom of being, was approaching the wild and civil Cappadocia, was approaching the local people, and was casting his shadow on the earth and among the fierce tourists, etc., etc. The creator of that shadow was certainly better than me, as I am used to know myself, in today's vicious Italy in which I am. Oh, I wish I could speak of some unnatural lightness that takes the deepest being, when at last we can glide in the truth of ancient and intact sights between human people, and with each step give the legs their primordial sense, dusting the eyes from habit, gradually get rid of the madness of Italy, of Europe, the whole world, to rediscover the strength of Earth's law before any other law, and rediscover nature, the spark that is within us, and then, in the original purity, finally meet ourselves. Cappadocia, in fact, is a deep place, even fantastic and beautiful, but never a place for pleasure, although in part it has become, because of tourism. This tourism, however, can't cross it without sweating and traipsing, without feeling at least a little lost and humble in the desert and under the strong sun, and also confused, dazed, in front of the supreme beauty. Here, where nature and history have an exceptional value which would leave its mark even in the most stupid being. Moreover, if Cappadocia wouldn't take us away, in our depths, we wouldn't be human, considering that millions of human beings have always aimed to it, fighting to possess it, and have raised empires, temporal powers, as the Hittites, suggestive name, tribe of nomadic shepherds from southern Russia, were perhaps the first to settle there, over 2,000 years before Christ. KATPATUKA, perhaps in Hittite language, means land of beautiful horses. And after them came the Phrygians, the Lydians, Assyrians of Sardanapalus, the Persians of Darius and Xerxes, the Greeks of Alexander the Great, the Romans. Then Christianity spread, the Byzantine army was defeated, and Cappadocia passed into the hands of the Turks. The Turkish sultans gave birth to new cities and brought the Islamic religion over the Christianity of Byzantine. Famous was the Sultanate of Osman, from which the word Ottoman. The Ottoman Empire was at the center of relations between East and West for approximately 6 centuries, stretching from Poland to Eritrea, from Algeria to Yemen, and lasted until the establishment of today's Republic of Turkey. Constantinople was the capital. But on the recent history of Cappadocia, however, I have found nothing, just some advertising disguised as newspaper ads. We only know that in 1985 the Cappadocia was declared World Heritage by UNESCO. Here, where the most important sculpture is the wind, and the most beautiful monuments have been erected by fairies, as the so-called fairy chimneys show. Rock cones as high as 30 feet on whose peaks these heavenly creatures have wanted to challenge the creatures of earth and all the laws of science, mockingly putting large basalt stones as if they were very light. It's August 10th. I am traveling to the small village of Gorem, about 760 kilometers from Istanbul. On the bus, just sitting in front of me, a group of 20-something Italians does nothing but laugh. I have the linguistic ability to understand, and unfortunately, I understand every sentence, every stupid joke. And I also understand that they are university students. It's dawn. But since we left, and that is from the evening of August 9th, they do nothing but ridicule. Derision takes place in every detail of what they are seeing and experiencing in this Turkey where we plunge ourselves more and more. Now is time for the seats of the bus to make them laugh, equipped with a radio TV. After that, the broadcast films, the played music, while outside the desert unfolds. The desert is always the same, but it's never boring, at least for someone like me. Already I've had experienced it in Egypt, but in slightly different form. Stone or sand, yellow or pink. Desert where it is not true that there is nothing. In fact, there is everything, because there is the essential, at least for me. The steward of the bus, in suit and tie, is a little more than a boy, but he looks like a man, very serious. He is now coming towards us with a tray to serve us tea. He's a real Turkish worker, carved in seriousness, but willing to share a smile, a joke, perfectly crowned in the calm and slow custom of tea, which is also given here, on the fast and unstable bus, as in the rest of Turkey. I feel comforted. I feel that we, human beings with slow and calm wise, can be able to dominate the instability, even to combat speed. The 4 spoiled children, of whom I have taken a photograph from behind, will laugh stupidly until mid-morning, when the bus arrives. Stupidly but also obsessively, as in a ritual. And their hysterical rite, full of chaos, suddenly seems similar but opposite to that of tea, seraphic and swollen of balance. These guys laugh at everything. They even recover excuses already used, so that they don't have to break the ceremony and continue to mock, rekindle so a low and comradely spirit that impoverishes but unites them in that misunderstood holiday concept to which they have been well educated, of course, by the consumer culture from which they come, and that from many years stands as the real Italian culture, which is even, in other words, and this also clearly expressed the boys, a cloudy anxiety, deep anguish, which overlaps, finally, the wonderful journey that they are making. In the peace and antiquity of these magnificent mountains, almost invisible and inaudible, if it were not for the beautiful and melodious calls of the minarets, the Turkish people live. Vegetable growers, at most winemakers, diner merchants, or at most small jewelers, or even skilled craftsmen. But never, in the villages I visited, I happened to meet an artist, until I met Harun. Some stranger like me will have known him as a taxi driver, and have bargained with him on the price, as they do in Istanbul. I, instead, knew him from the start as an artist, and there has never been a money contract between us, nor was there one from my part, fortunately. That pitiful game of dropping prices were managed well the tourists in Turkey, but not only in Turkey, of which I would have repent and regret later. The tourist guides even recommend this bargain, disagree with others to pay less. That becomes, I saw it, an attack in 2 or 3 or 4, a pack to the Turkish taxi driver. In Gorem, I met a man, this artist taxi driver named Harun, taxi driver by chance, to live, just like me in my materialistic Italy. A man remaining on the ancient and dusty earth, while the bulk of the people moved to the already overflowing Istanbul. But others like him remain in Cappadocia, here where tourism is now an industry that claims itself without shame. Mass tourism, which is a mass on holiday. And if we don't weigh certain slight differences, here that the Japanese is the Italian is the German is the American, in this mass, how to distinguish them? It's clear that the mass production in the world determines subjects very similar to each other, like these. And we note that this production of men not men also produces the physical similarities, as well it produces common customs and the whole baggage of conventions in which the subjects are tested, conventional desires, conventional curiosity, etc., etc. Just as is conventional the English language that the masses on holiday stutter here and there. The result is then a touristic people that looks like a people in all respects, however, without country, without nation, or rather supranational, as indeed is the same industry that produces it, a people so well disciplined and approved that takes almost army-like character and becomes an army, a true army, complete with uniform. Also, this I have seen in my travels. In fact, if not uniform, how can we call these explorer hats that have invaded Cappadocia, or those cowboy hats? A uniform that continues with t-shirts, with shorts, with trekking shoes. And since to an army that comes as a friend is not forbidden to occupy and station where and how it wants. Here the tourists can stay and occupy even the fairy chimneys, wanted by the heaven and also recognized by UNESCO. The tourists can tease so with the precious myth, their hamburger thief, and certainly no one can forbid him to rest after the traditional horse ride safari, so traditional to the extent that no Turk would do a horse ride safari, or after the trip on a hot air balloon, which is not even Turkish. In the evening, we see these approval soldiers, these Western peoples deprived of their culture and reacculturized by the consumer production, in the part of perfect consumers of food and alcohol that the various cafes of Goreme by night offer them. If I have the regret to say these things, is because I had the displeasure of establishing them with my own eyes, and in the hardest way possible, that is in the real and pulsating life of one of the world's oldest hearts, as Cappadocia, where nature is magnificent, and the man is still natural. It is perhaps in revenge against the false and deluded and approved humanity that remains in me the impression of humanity of these places, escaped, still beautiful, fiercely documented. I think of the 2 waiters who were playing backgammon while the tourist beasts passed. No one outside the restaurant to procure customers. And when I approached, I was invited to the table, and they offered me the tea. Damn to me! They will remain in my memory as the most indifferent waiters to tourism that I ever known. An all intact humanity, culminating well in my friend Harun, artist taxi driver, the extreme point of this distance and indifference that opposes naturally to homologation and untruth. To him I owe this crude attempt of an interview, and I dedicate him this video with affection.
c'è sempre qualche turista che rompe i coglioni, che chiede di una banca, gentilissimo, concede informazioni a tutti, anche a questa specie di umanità, sottospecie di umanità. The government is capitalist or not. It's not socialist, no? But it's not capitalist.
Looks, yeah, not. It looks socialist, but not real.
Okay. Looks socialist.
Not capitalism. Not Turkey. Not Muslim thinking.
Yeah.
Normal Muslim people, he don't want a capitalist system.
Okay.
The Muhammad is there to go. He don't want capitalism. We fighting every time for capitalist system.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think he don't learn or he don't showing. I think all the Muslim teachers, I think not good learning.
Yes. What is the capitalism?
Not good showing, not good giving.
Yes, I understand.
Big problem, I think, the system. Yeah, again, same systems, capitalist systems. He want to like this. He don't learn real.
Yeah.
They just he want to don't take big credit in the bank.
Credit in the
bank.
Work
Every time for capitalist system. Be good, no problem for him. But somebody live very, very comfortable, more money, but somebody he don't find the bread. Big difference.
Yes. Gorem is paradise. Also, no, too, because it's so beautiful. No, the nature is fantastic here.
Normal for me. Maybe looks different for you, but for me, just living places.
Yes. Home.
Okay. I born here, grow up here. I see every time.
Yeah.
I would like to go to pharmacy.
On the left side, about 150 meters.
It is not too far away. What? 20?
150 meters on the
okay.
left side.
Yeah.
Merci.
Thank you.
Near cross.
Okay. Thank you very much.